He started as an apprentice in Times of India, Lucknow, and then finally moved to Delhi to make it big into the Mecca of journalism. Landed a job as sub-editor reporter in the reputable National Herald, an institution started by India's first Prime Minister, Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru, and worked in different capacities, learning all the tricks of the trade. Second job was with the upcoming star of the financial journalism, the Lal Street Journal, a very popular newspaper especially known for its wide coverage of IPOs, a new phenomenon in India. And in 1999, he came to the US. I take pleasure in welcoming Alok Ranjan Bajpai to our studio. Thank you so much for talking to us, Alok ji.
Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you for inviting me.
Talk about your career as a journalist, as a writer to begin with.
Long time back, almost 3 decades. So I did my master's in journalism from Lucknow University. We were the first batch. Proudly very prestigious institute, and there were only 14 seats at that point of time. So to crack that, even that point of time, there were lakhs and lakhs of students. They'll strive for that coveted course. We were the first batch, so that was 26 years back, 27 now. And so I got into that very happy, very excited, and especially when there were only 10 seats and 4 seats were reserved for media, for newspaper, television, and 2 were reserved. So we were selected among, like I was selected among 10. We did 2 years masters, and then Lucknow being a small city, not having too many English newspapers, then I moved to Delhi. And then started the card seva. So I worked for National Herald 3 months free of charge. And my first salary check was 3,000 rupees. That point of time, a very big deal. So that's how started my career. And National Herald being one of the oldest print media organizations started by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, that was phenomenal. Like, they'll rotate me. I was a sub-editor / reporter, so I'll do all the bits, all beats. You do political journalism, you do financial journalism, you do some film part as well. They train you. And there I was very curious that how this offset printing, that used to be a big word, how that is created. So I'll do the night shift to sit with people who are doing the page making and how this is done, because that time things were moving from block to offset printing. So that was a big technology at that point of time. So that's where I started my career. I learned everything, learned editing, learned writing, went on my stint as a journalist, and that's where my career shaped up.
Talk about your breakthrough stories, something that created ripples in the world of journalism.
I wouldn't say a breakthrough, but I did cover that point of time Punjab. Punjab was a big thing, and so we did some Punjab stories. I did a short story about Kashmir also. Kashmir was hottest at that point of time, because 1989 and 1990, whatever happened. But then I moved from political journalism towards financial journalism, and I was lucky enough to meet Harshad Mehta.
Oh, you did? Talk about that.
Yeah. So I started working for Dalal Street 1995. And that point of time, Harshad Mehta was a big name because of the scam, whatever would happen. And it's ironic that last year the whole Harshad Mehta story got, like, because of the movie, because of the series. He was a very humble soul, a very good man. But he said, like, what I did, I just used the system. And there are millions of people before him who've been using but not became that famous. He came from a background. He would always, I wouldn't blame, but I think he was a victim somewhere in the system.
I believe so.
Yeah, I truly believe. And if you look at the series or look at the movie, they tried to show us, but he was way bigger than any movie or any series. I would remember going to the stock market. I was in Delhi, so I'll go to New York Stock, NSE, National Stock Exchange. And people would swear by Mehta's name. He buys into Asian Paint, he buys into any company. I remember a couple of companies, they had a small office because I have to go and find out a couple of factories in Delhi, and he mentioned their name, and the company shoots to the stars. Now they use the term going to moon, but that was really going to moon when people had no other alternative. People are much more educated now.
Did you get any tips from him? Did you make some money?
I made all the money in the stock market
Oh, wow.
based on my own research and
Okay.
findings. And unfortunately, being a journalist, we were restricted to buy into the companies that you were covering. So I missed a lot of opportunities. That's how it became. But yeah, I did my own research, and I've been lucky in India. Like India, for me, as far as stock market is concerned, was pretty good. I always made money.
Wonderful. So how did you ensure that your work was accurate and factual? Was there any fact checking done in those days?
Oh, if I look at the time today and that point of time, I think now we are behind.
Oh,
With the passage of time, we say and we feel that we are moving forward, but in a lot of fields of life, we are going backward. The first lesson, there were three golden principles that we were taught in journalism. And the first thing was, you were just a medium transmitting the news. You are nobody else. You have no face, no name, nothing. If you happen to be famous, you are lucky. I remember Arun Shourie being very famous, Jairam being very famous. There were a few journalists, of course, very famous. But normally, that you just leave with the news, you are just transmitting from point A to point B, your job gets done. So that's your job. B is you cannot take side. Nowadays, there are entire media houses backed by somebody. Even that point of time, because media needs money, any organization needs money, so you need people behind it, whether it was Express Group or Times of India Group. But things were not opinionated. Journalists were opinionated only on the personal talks. But when they come and deliver the news, they had no opinions. They just delivered the news. So there was no, as they say, there was no bias in the news. And third thing, you do fact checking before you get a byline, before you get your name. You were grilled. Like I remember being grilled in Herald so much. Before writing, you need to do the sub editing. And there are reams and reams and reams of paper, and you'll sit down and you'll fight with each and every single word, each and every single sentence, that if the structure of sentence is correct. And when you have done the entire story, you're learning sub-editing, and then you figure it out, it's only going on column number so and so on page number 7. So now you have to redo the whole story, whatever you said, now you have to redo everything, because you have to convey the story. So I think we were doing, when I see the media and world over media, not only in the United States but India, it's a sad affair. It's a very, very sorry state of things. Media is not what it used to be. And as far as fact checking, if we are doing a Punjab supplement, we are doing any story, we would take a taxi. I remember doing one Punjab supplement where I had a management consultant, and he picked up a story. And then he said, okay, you come along with me. And I had to go to Chandigarh. And that time, I had to pay for the taxi myself because this consultant was out of money. And then it took me 7 months to recover a part of that money. Other money I lost to this guy. So those were the days.
so what do you think of journalism in India at present? Is digital India a boon or a curse?
They are not doing their job right. It's a curse. They don't give you the news. They are giving you nuisance. There's no news. Being a media person, I don't watch news.
You don't watch.
Yeah, because I select my medium and I keep news fasting. And I tell everybody, if you want to stay sane enough, don't watch news.
Don't watch.
Because they are blowing out of proportion. I mean, now if you're seeing some celebrities going to airport, if that is the news, then what media
That's
is for?
ridiculous.
Then you can go and work for those celebrities.
So, do you think in the present political and social scenario, religion has become a scary word?
That's very sensitive topic.
Okay, so do we abuse our freedom of expression or not be able to follow the religion we are born in or the one that we choose to have?
The thing is, it all depends like where you are, and I can only say as per my experience from my religion, India has been a country ruled by oppressor for thousands of years, 1200 years. So I think somewhere, I wouldn't say lost in translation, but we have lost our root, we have lost our pride, we have lost that right even to say who we are. And now if we say it, that gets politicized. So that's why it's so scary. And it's scary not only in India. If you look around the world, in France, some journalist makes some cartoon and he gets penalized. So speaking truth for certain people has costed them their life. So that
history has been distorted, as we were having a conversation earlier.
Completely.
And Indian history needs to be fixed.
It needs to be fixed.
What did you mean by that?
It's very simple. If somebody walks into your room or your house, comes, plunders it, kills your family, and as they say, the history is written by the victors. Whosoever wins the battle writes the history. But there should be enough sense prevailing that this is what has happened, because 100 years from now or 200 years from now, the generation which are coming, they would not be ruled by the same ruler. So every coming, whatever political party or whosoever is in position of power should have that courage and that audacity to at least state the fact. And that's the problem with Indian history. That's what I feel in last 1300. Even though we got our independence and we say freedom of expression, but still things are distorted. Things need to be fixed.
You plan to change that?
Time to change.
So you recently launched your own YouTube channel, Dharm, Arth, Kam and Moksha. What is the intent behind that?
For intent, I have a beautiful word in Hindi, mantavya. Somebody, after watching he's my 30-year-old friend, he called and he said, Pandit ji, aapka mantavya kya hai? And he's a guy from Banaras, and we had very good time. Actually, he was in circulation department. He never worked initially, but later on he worked and I helped him. He became somebody all right. So mantavya, there's two parts in life, and not everybody is lucky to do both things simultaneously, because as my channel name is Dharma, Arth, Kam, Moksha, the life has these four aspects. You have to do your dharma, and dharma does not mean religion. Like they say in Sanskrit, yada adharyati sa dharma, कि जो आप करते हैं वो आपका धर्म है. डॉक्टर का काम मरीज की सेवा करना. That's doctor's religion. You are a journalist, you are doing interview, that's your job, that's your dharma. Dharma has always been, like when it comes to meaning, everybody presents a different, with a religious connotation, and that's wrong. So dharma is what you do. Arth is for your livelihood, you make your money. Kam is not only one Kam Vasana where everybody is here raised. Kam is any kind of Vasana, that's Kam. Any kind of desire, that's Vasana is desire. And Moksha is salvation. But salvation is, I don't think English does justice to that word, but that's
religion ko वैसे हिंदी में क्या कहेंगे?
Religion, because the dharma is dharma. In Sanatan Dharma, there is no word as such Hindu Dharma. Hindu and Hindustan came from foreigners, because that was a point of reference geographically. Sindhu Ghati Sabhyata and Sindhu, I know Afghani people, there are some Pathan, my friend, with whom I know 25 years here in this country. I still have some friends in Pakistan. And they know this place because Sindhu Ghati became Hindu, Sindhu and Hindu, people who were living, and that's how the Hindu and Hindustan came into existence, because it is Bharat. Parampara chali aa rahi hai. This is from ages. And we have said word, we had all written word that got all burned down with Nalanda University. And that's the sad state of affairs. There's so much history we have lost. There's so many things that have been distorted. That's why it's very close to. So Dharma, Arth, Kam, Moksha, the mantavya, the intent behind that channel is that I want to really talk the other journey of life, because we are all busy. I personally believe that the purpose of human form is 84 lakh योनियों के बाद you come in this human form where you have intelligence. That's how you are different from a cow or a deer or any other animal. We are also animal, but having that intelligence, that who we are and who created us, and ultimately finding that Virat Swarup, finding that God, knowing that Ansh stays inside you, I think that's the only purpose of this body. And if we are not able to find that, then we have wasted this lifetime. So my thing is that my channel, we only talk, not that in a religious sense, but we talk in a spiritual way that what this life is about. And I'm trying to throw light on the aspects, what I have done, Manas, Man se Manas. I talk about Vibhishan ka Krodh, I talk about Marich, I talk about Sita ki Agni Pariksha, where facts have been distorted or there's not enough information, because when you say Vibhishan, everybody thinks ki he is the Vibhishan who said ki Ravan kicks him and he's still there.
Yeah.
So the only Vibhishan that you said correctly ki ghar ka Vedi Lanka hai, so he's only ki ghar ka drohi, bekar, bakwas, or maximum that he is Bhakt of Ramji. But Vibhishan is the guy with whom God Ram, he entrusted him with establishment of dharma, establishment of religion. When Bhagwan Ram left this earth, he delegated Vibhishan, and it's Vibhishan who established all the dharma.
And he did a very good job there.
Yeah, and he did a good job. That's why he's known as Vibhishan. And he has challenged Ravan, if you get into detail on my YouTube channel, where he has fought with Ravan. He literally fought with Ravan. So, Vibhishan has, so I try to throw light on the character or the stories which are unheard, unseen, so that people could know, because all the regular stories, all the normal stories, everybody knows. So there's nothing more you can
What is your source? How did you learn about all these? In your childhood, aapke parents?
I've been blessed. I've been blessed with very educated parents, and more so I'll say my grandparents. My Dadaji, my father's father, he was a doctor. He was a Vaid. So I say 2-month crash course every summer. I would go to my village, which is 70 kilometers from Lucknow, and the mandatory things were that you wake up early in the morning, Brahm Muhurat mein, and then you go to the riverside, you do your morning ritual, you come back. Coming back, you pick up your mangoes, because that was the mango aam ka season. And we are from Lucknow, so Lucknow Dashari is famous. We are famous for mangoes. And then we do our thing. Then my Dadi or Baba will ask me to sit down and read Ramcharitmanas. That's why Ramcharitmanas is so close to my heart. And when we say, they'll tell us how to say a certain word. Because we are the only people, like Lucknow is the only capital of Awadh. People don't even know Awadh. Lakshman Bhagwan ki बनाई हुई नगरी है. Yeah, Lucknow came later.
Wow.
And Lucknow has its root. Awadhi में अगर आप, I'm just using Hindi so you understand. If you say कि कहो या कहना, तो अवधी में बोलेंगे कहाँ हूँ. राम हूँ. लक्ष्मण तो लखनऊ, या लक्ष्मण हूँ तो लखनऊ. Lakhanpuri उसका नाम था. But what I was saying just before, if people forget that in Lucknow there is a Lakshman Tila, but now that's a Tile wali masjid. This is how पूरे युग बीत गए. त्रेता में भगवान राम का जन्म हुआ, और आप आके आज कलयुग में नाम बदल देते हैं उसका. इतनी भी पुरानी बात नहीं है. तो हमारी युगों का संस्कृति, संस्कार, they have been vanished. So that's the pain. So I come from that background where my grandfather would taught me, my grandmother will teach me. My Nana ji used to work for railway. He was only high school at that point of time, but he was so good with the maths. So whatever he taught me in maths, I still remembered. So I've been blessed with my grandparents, and they teach me. They always, grandparents, they love their grandkids, and I'm no special. My grandparents used to love me, and that's where I learned it from. And then my parents being, my mother would always say We were from a very good family, but when British Empire ended, they took away all the lands and all the title. So my great grandfather, he lost all his wealth, and the land that people were tilling for him became those people's land. So eventually we had big name, but no money left. And then my great grandfather, he died like all of a sudden. My grandfather was a doctor, so he was working for English people. He had to come back, but he was the only son, so he couldn't get back because might is right. Jiski lathi uski bhais. He couldn't fight with the people. People took our land right in front of us, and we couldn't do it. So basically, we had big name, but financially poor.
अभी भी रंजिश है इस बात की आपको?
Ranjish nahi hai. Because those are time I made my money. My father, the problem was more with my dad, because like when he was very young, he had seen those heydays, so he could not reconcile with the fact that despite of all the big name, like even if I go to my village, there are hundreds of the people, they'll still touch my feet, but they still owning the land that we used to own. And I don't have grudge. There's no Ranjish.
But it broke your father's heart.
Yeah, but my father could never reconcile. He could never, and he died pretty young. He died at age 56. So,
oh my God! And then you came here.
I came after I lost my mom and dad. 1998 May I lost my mom, and October I lost my dad. And my father would always tell me to go to. I had once opportunity in 95, 96 when I got a stint for College Times. But my mom stopped. She said, no, you're not going that Middle East. And then my father sort of challenged me. He said, like, if you want to go to the best country in the world. So when he died, like a week before he died, I told him I'm applying for the visa. Hopefully I get it. And with his blessings, I got it. He knew it. He couldn't live to see it, but he knew it. So that's only consolation. I got a consolation prize that I was able to tell my dad. My mom didn't even live to see that. Nor did my dad, but at least he knew that I will go to States. And that was my reason. Everybody comes for a different reason. I came to fulfill my dad's last wish.
How wonderful. And we are so glad you are here.
Thank you.
And here in the studio with us.
Thank you, Teddy.
Thank you so much for talking to us. And we will be seeing you and hearing you pass your words of wisdom on your YouTube channel. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.